National Chess Master, our rats at chess.com. This is another entry into my best games thread where members of the video lessons group may submit their best games of chess and get a video made of it. And these are, as I'll say it again, these are a wonderful tool to learn how to analyze. Now, this particular game was played in a time control of only 10 minutes per side. For those watching, I encourage you not to post blitz games, but if you post it, I'm going to make a video of it. That's your video. So the reason blitz chess is not real chess. I can go into a great deal about this, but blitz chess leads to impulsive thinking. You don't have time to sit and find your best moves and play your best chess. But at the same time, we can analyze a blitz game and make suggestions and improvements and so forth and still do something. So that's what I'm going to do with this game. Let's have a look. Okay. Now, generally, this is the Marshall defense of the Queen's Gambit declined. Generally speaking, White does okay by taking on d5, and then after Black takes back with the knight, White delays e4 and just plays knight f3, and will play e4 at the right time. You can look this up. It's old theory. Marshall was U.S. champion, 1909 to his death, 1940, circa 1940. Most of the time, in his later years, he avoided challenges for his title because he knew he would lose. Isaac Kashdan for one, Sammy Reshevsky was another. But Marshall is still famous to this day. The Marshall attack of the Ruy Lopez is named after him. That's got an interesting story behind it. I'll tell it someday, not now. Okay. I think I've told it already in a video. If you find anything on the Marshall attack, I think the first one was a Marshall attack. Maybe I told it there. I don't remember. I make so many of these videos. Okay. Anyway, instead what happens is a transposition into the Queen's Gambit declined. And Black employs Lasker's defense. And now Lasker's another famous chess master. He was superior to Marshall. He won a match from Marshall. Marshall was able to get a match for the World Championship with him, but Lasker pretty much destroyed him. But anyway, it's an opening I've known of since I was a teenager. It's one of the recommended ways to equalize as Black with the Queen's Gambit declined. And this is now the next key move. Now, unfortunately, what happens here is Black doesn't know opening theory and creates his own line. What's supposed to happen here is, and I'm going to back up on this in a moment, and I want to show something else. But what's supposed to happen is Black castles, and let's see, I don't remember main line. It's been 40 years since I played this. Okay. At some point, what happens is there's this exchange is made, and then the queen comes up. And I don't know, maybe I know this gets traded, and essentially it more or less leads to an even game, something along like this. And notice one thing that's happening: both sides are getting developed. White still has to develop his bishop and castle. Black still has to develop his queen bishop. He's got a little problem on c7, but that's easy to deal with. Actually, it's White's move. He can win that pawn. Well, then Black, I don't know. I've done something wrong. You'll have to look this up. But that's what this is all about. It's getting you guys to go look up the moves and learn these things, because you'll learn more by doing them than me just by showing them. Okay. So sorry about messing it up. Anyway, in this position, I played this in 1972 when I was just got my first rating of 1465, and I played it against a longtime veteran of chess who was he was elderly, passed away within 2 years of playing me. My first chess club in 1968, that after a Scholastic club, my first adult chess club, he was one of the better players there. Whenever I'd play him casually, he'd always win. I did beat him in a simultaneous that he gave, and I played him in this weekly Swiss tournament at my local chess club, and I'd already had a nice upset over the other strong player from that adult club, and I had him beat in this from this position. And what he played was he played this very crazy gambit, h4, giving up a piece. Maybe he played it after I castled. Maybe I castled first and then played h6. I think that's how it went. That's probably what went wrong in the other line. Why black ended up hanging that c pawn. But anyway, yeah, I think I castled. I did castle, and he developed his knight. Anyway, make a long story short, I have made a video of that, but you can't find it because it's in the Rat Pack, my private group, which has a $30 admission price, or donate to my, donate that much to my program, be one of my students. You can get in and have access to my Chess Career series, which has 35 videos and counting, covering my first 40-some tournament games, and you can see how did I develop as a chess player. What was it like? What was I like in the early years? So it's well worth seeing. The members that are watching those are really getting a lot of benefit out of them. But anyway, let's back to this game. Black commits a serious opening error here, and well, not just yet. No, that's right. It's just the way the PGN works. Okay, G5. He commits a serious opening error here. This just basically weakens the black king side almost beyond repair. And if you're white here, you can just be smiling and happy because of that weakness. Let's see how the game continues. Black commits another error here in the opening. He develops a piece. I'm sorry. He moves a piece that's already developed when his entire queen side is not developed. You got to get everything in the battle. And I need to repeat this because you never know who's seeing one of my videos for the first time. And chess is a game of war. You don't leave your men at home. If you send a couple of soldiers out against the whole army, they're going to get killed, and the rest of your position is going to become untenable shortly, and you'll lose the war. So if you don't develop pieces, you're asking for it. If you develop your pieces, then they have a chance to start finding some good squares. Okay, so what black does is black goes and pins this knight, and really there was no need for it. There's the knight's well defended. White or black might want to play knight e4 and threaten to win material down there, but white has the resources. And white kind of returns the favor here and goes and attacks the knight. Now, a perfectly good move here for black to play is simply to develop a piece and attack that bishop, knight bd7, and secure the bishop pair for what it's worth. That's a perfectly good move. But black commits what I believe is another error and starts to open up the position. And just as a general rule, if you open up the position when your development's not complete or your opponent is ahead in development, and white's not really ahead in development, but just keep this in mind. If you open up the position when that's true, when before you're developed, you're kind of asking for it. And the reason is, if your opponent has his pieces developed, they're the ones that are going to find active squares. Okay? And that's just the way it is. They're going to find the better squares and take advantage. So the comedy of errors kind of continues. There's probably a number of missed wins and opportunities for white here over the next several moves. I'll cover most of them. But again, the black player is good to sit down with this game again and look at my suggestions and try to find improvements. And really, black's getting himself in this difficulty simply because he didn't develop his pieces. Had he developed his pieces, he wouldn't have had these problems. He might have ended up with some new problems once the middle game commenced, but they're less likely to occur when you're developed. Okay, and here black commits another mistake. Oh, I hit the back arrow. General rule, I'll say it again, I've said it in a lot of videos, don't make exchanges that develop your opponent's pieces. Let him make exchanges that develop your pieces. So what this does is this is going to allow white to take on d4 with his queen, and now the queen gets developed. Okay? Just a good simple rule. But white plays a good move here. He gives a check, and now at this point, white now has a forced win. Okay, a forced win of material. And here I'll show it to you. The idea is to play bishop takes check. Now how's black gonna handle this? If he takes with the knight, the rook on h8 falls. If he takes with the queen, the knight on f6 falls. If he moves the king, white just won a piece, so that leaves one move. And when you're analyzing positions, whenever you have a forcing move, like which is a capture, unless there's a powerful Zwischenzug, and there really isn't when you're in check, these things are easy to see. So black needs to take with his bishop. Now white just wins with queen takes d4. Now there's an immediate threat on the bishop. Well, we can get rid of that with a check. Okay. But now look at this knight on f6. It's doubly attacked, it's defended once, and it's pinned. White's gonna win a piece. No matter what black does, white is going to win a piece, and thus will win the game. So black brought this upon himself by violating a lot of opening principles, moving pieces again in the opening, weakening his king side. See, the pawn on g7 went up to g6. That pawn was protecting that knight on f6. It no longer is. Okay, so white missed the win here, and let's see what he actually did. Okay, he took on d4 with the queen. Now there is a threat to take the knight, because the knight on d7 is not guarding it because it's pinned. So the threat that white has is to play just simply take on f6, and that forks a queen and a rook. And you say, well, I'll just take back with the queen. Well, then fine, queen takes queen. And again, the knight on d7 can't help because it's pinned. The defensive power of a pinned piece is purely imaginary. Famous chess quote. Go look it up. Learn who said it. I think I've told it, but go look it up. So anyway, after queen takes d4, it's not white's move, so he can't do that threat. Black has time to deal with, for the moment, the threat on his bishop, and he does that. And as I said, because the knight on d7 is pinned, black has time to do this, and then black castles. And now to quote a chapter in the book The Hobbit, and a line that Gandalf uttered, out of the frying pan and into the fire. Okay, so the frying pan was that pin on that knight on d7. Now the fire is the fact that black is castled into a position where his king is in extreme danger. Okay, so white follows up with what he should do, development. Okay, and let's just stop and take stock here. See what's happened. Both sides have three minor pieces. White has them all out. Black still has one at home, and it can't even move. Black still has his queen at home. White's queen is developed. The only thing black has that black doesn't is black's castled. Well, white's close to doing that. Okay. I'm not sure what the best move here is. You know, it's something you're going to have to sit down and work on. But logic seems to say to finish the development if it's not too late. How do we do that? Well, knight b6. That might allow. It stops bishop d6, but I don't know, maybe pawn to d6 is a good move. It could be a good reply, giving him this killer pass pawn. It's blocked, but it's a nuisance. But black can get his development going. But black can also consider trying to pry open the white king side, and that's what white's going to do here in a minute or two. We'll see. So black's got a very, very difficult game that he's brought on himself, and he's going to have to play wiggle chess. That's just a new term I just coined right here. He's going to have to wiggle his way out of here, and that's what he's going to do, remarkably. We'll see. Okay, so he takes here. Now black can just ignore that pawn. Doesn't have to worry about it. I mean, white can just ignore it. White decides to get rid of some of the defenders in the black position. So he gets rid of this guy, and now White commits a mistake and hands Black a winning game. Okay, he plays Bishop H8. Now, again, you see, this is one of the problems with blitz chess. It leads to impulsive moves. So White says, "Hey, look, I'm threatening mate in one on G7," but he forgets there's just a simple move here to deal with it. Now look, the bishop's caught. It's not going anywhere. It's going to have to give itself up for a pawn. But then now White's desperate, so he realizes he's made a mistake. So there's only one thing left to do: break open the king side, and Black goes back and commits an error, and the pendulum sways once again. What do you think Black should do here? You might want to pause the video and think it out. Okay, you resume the video. The best move for Black to play here is to play G4. Yeah, it gives up a pawn with check, but that bishop is a goner, and the H file is not opened. And Black at least has an open G file that he can try and conduct some operations on. So, a lot of people might be reluctant to play a move like G4 because it gives up a pawn with check, but it makes perfect sense. You're still going to be head material. Your king's still going to be a little loose, but not as loose as it becomes. And we'll see what happens. Okay. But instead what Black does here is he takes the bishop. Now the bishop wasn't going anywhere. Okay? It wasn't. It was going to be dog meat, dog food, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now comes a little bit of difficulty for Black. Both of his pawns are pinned. You can't take on G5 with either pawn. They're both pinned. So Black comes up with, I think, a poor move. And it's hard to say exactly what the best defense here is. It's something that's going to have to be sit and work on. He comes up with King H7, and that just allows a rook take with check. And Black is really busted here. There's just basically no good move. So he starts, as I say, playing wiggle chess. He's going to wiggle his king out of there the best he can. Okay, now White comes down here. Now look at that. There's the threat of checkmate in one move. How does Black deal with this? We got threats on Queen G6 check. Well, he starts wiggling. That's pretty much all he can do. But unfortunately, White missed a nice win here. White to play and do the best he can. Well, we know the best he can is a win. I've already said that. But pause the video. Okay. The best move for White to play here is Rook H7 check, and this really leaves Black embarrassed because he can't go back to G8. It's mate in one. If he goes to E8, Queen G6 check, and you get to give up the rook and get mated. So that leaves King E6. Now, there's no direct forced quick win here, but Black is White's crushing. How is that Black king going to get out of danger? Well, the answer is it isn't. Okay, it can't go back to the second rank because White has a rook on it. Okay, White has a rook on it. So what White is going to all White has to do is just start breaking open the center here. A good move is either castle queenside or stick the rook on D1. That has an immediate threat. Queen takes D5, checkmate. And, Black's he's not long for this world. Things are coming into play here real quick that are just going to be devastating. A knight B6, White can start looking at moves like knight D4 check, and all kinds of good things are going to come out of this. So what happened instead was, let's see, Rook H7, King H6. White comes up with Queen. Ooh, no, wait a minute. He didn't check with the rook. That's why. Okay. he checked with the queen on g6. And this lets black start wiggling out of it. And now black's a piece ahead. He's not able to use it. He's used that piece. It's still sitting on c8, but he starts wiggling his king. And you know, there's an old saying, "Give a check, it might be mate," or another one expression, "Potzer sees a check, Potzer gives a check." Well, unfortunately, though, the black king is just wiggling out of trouble. And here he goes. And he tries another check, and b5 might have been better, but I don't know. It stops the king going to c7 at least for now, but he'll find a way out of there. And now he gets the rook on the 7th rank, pins the knight, but now the king just wiggles himself all the way over to b8. So black breathes a sigh of relief, and now he's just got to consolidate his position and win the game. But white still has some nuisance value. And once again, we got to get these guys developed. This knight on d7, I mean, e5 is available with tempo. Why don't we go there? Attack the queen. We still have to stop and guard b7, but there's ways to do that. You know, but what he does works out. Now, what's white got here? Well, a whole lot of nothing, but he's got to try something. So he starts his pawns rolling. What else would you do? Well, while black is wiggling out of this mess, and you know, it's hard to suggest moves for white here, but he tries what he tries. He throws the knight into the position, hoping that maybe black won't see his queens hanging. Unfortunately, though, this just loses more material. Ouch. And now black's up the world. What's he ahead? A rook and a bishop for a pawn. So what can white do? Well, it's blitz. You just keep playing and hope for a miracle. He grabs a pawn. Black gets another check. Now suddenly the white king's in danger. Why do I always mix black and white up? Dyslexia. Okay, king f3. What do we do now? Well, at least black has one piece attacking, and that's the queen. So it's time to get something else in action. One good way is maybe rook a6. It provides another flight square for the king if you have to, and it gets a rook into play. But I guess pushing a passed pawn isn't a bad idea. You know, you have a luxury of being up a lot of material. You don't necessarily have to checkmate white, just liquidate. Queen c4 comes into consideration. Why? Because the threat is to check on e4 and get the queens off the board. It clears the a file for this pawn to run, and that's a possibility. Queen c4 is a decent move. On queen c4, white might try knight d6 to defend that, but that allows queen f1 check, and who knows where we can get with that. Also, one problem with knight d6 is at the right time rook takes f6 is going to come in, giving a fork. You know, white can probably just cry. But you want to put your opponent away when you can, and if black had more time, he might have found my suggestion of queen c4. Anyways, you got to pass pawn, get it running. Now he develops the rook. That's good. Okay. And now white's playing, please take my queen, because that costs black a rook. How do you deal with something like this? Well, black finds a good move. He finally develops that bishop, since the knight on d7 is no longer under attack, since white has shut off the rook's line of attack along the 7th rank. So what can white do? He tries. He's going to give up his queen for the rook, I guess, and hopefully move the rook out of the way and queen the pawn, or arrange some kind of discover check with his knight and hope for the best. What else do you do? But now suddenly the black pieces spring to life, and now black misses. Queen takes g2 check, which should be pretty fatal. But anyway, He plays queen e2. White tries to get rid of the defender of the rook on f8. But unfortunately, the black queen is active, and it's grabbing pawns and checking. And here comes another one. And then black wins another piece. So once black got his king out of the way, black rolled up white very nicely. Certainly a big contrast. Now I want to add one thing. Look, if you look at the ratings here, I didn't really mention them. You're low rated. They're both low rated. So you see these kind of things happen in players with the lower ratings. If they say 14, 1500, somewhere in there is about the average. There's a lot of points to be had down here. There's a lot of improvement, rapid improvement to be had if you get focused. So when you start out, chances are you're going to be rated down here. My first rating was 1465, but if those that have looked at my video lesson 1, you can see I was reading chess books for 8 years prior to that. I started, or 7.5 years. I started tournament chess in the summer right before my senior year of high school, but I was playing in a chess club as early as the 7th grade. And I was playing classmates and reading books a lot for several years, and accumulated a decent amount of knowledge. So then it was just a matter of getting into real tournaments and playing experienced players and learning from them. And I didn't overwhelm the chess world at all when I started out. Anyone who can see my Rat Pack videos can attest to that. But I did see steady improvement. I still have my real bad games here and there, but I pushed my rating up over 1600 in a year, and it not only hit. I never really stopped in the 1600s. I went from 1587 to 1730, and did that from basically a year of a lot of chess and a lot of reading chess books. Although I wasn't focused on reading the right chess books. The whole purpose of my lesson program is to shortcut the procedure for you so that you can gain strength at a much quicker clip than I did. And anyway, like I say, that's the objective of making these videos, to help everybody improve. I'm giving back to the chess world for what it gave me. Gave me a lot of pleasure, and it'll give you, hopefully, even if you just get 10% of the pleasure that I did, or 5%, or 1%, then I feel good, because you've learned something and you've enjoyed the greatest game in history. Okay, that concludes this video, and I thank you so much for your time, and there'll be another one made shortly. Take care. Thanks.